Hey, everybody, welcome to the Sally Allen podcast. It's always so great that you're here and you're watching these stories of resilience. As you know, we use this platform as a platform for people to come and share their stories of resilience. And today I have this wonderful, resilient young lady who's going to share her story with us. This story will just blow you away. I know that. It's just such an incredible story of grit and glory and resilience. So with that, I want to welcome her. Sophia, welcome to the Sally Allen podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so glad you're here. I'm glad you agreed to be here. And she brought her mama. I'm glad her mom is here too. Jill, welcome. Yeah. So Sophie just graduated high school and she is an intern at that high school as a special ed TA, which is really incredible. And she wanted me to say that she loved Dutch Bros.
I do. I love it.
She loved Dutch Bros. She introduced me to my first drink of Dutch Bros. I didn't know what it was, but I was so on a hype after it. I was so hyper after that drink. So she is also a foodie and she knows all the cool spots in Vegas. So listen, when you see this reel, her name will be on it. So hit her up for the foodie places. But Sophie, I want to welcome you. And I remember when we met, the first time we met, we were at the Crossing Church in Rooted, a class called Rooted. And you walked in there and there are some people, when they walk into a room, they just light it up. And it's been a while since I've seen someone like that. When you walk into that room, you just lit it up. Everybody just got happy and it was just so amazing, to have you there. And I remember I was just telling your mom, I shared something with you. I was telling you how amazing you are. And your reaction. I still remember your reaction. It was epic because you were so grateful and you were so thankful. But I just absolutely love your bubbly personality, right? But there was a time when it wasn't like that, right?
Yeah.
And given who you are now, I am surprised that you can be who you are given what you've been through. So I want you to talk to us about that. And we want to encourage other young ladies, with your story and let them know if you can come out of what you've been through, that they can too. So where do you want to start?
I think we should start all the way back in middle school because when everything happened to me, I was very young. I was 14. I was in 8th grade. And I was a transfer student at a new school. So I transferred schools around a lot, but I was always outgoing and I always was able to make friends. And I never had a problem with that because I just have always loved people. I don't know.
What's your personality? It's hard not to be friends with you.
Thank you. But yeah, I've just always loved people and being around people and making friends. So but a transfer in middle school is definitely something that's hard. Yeah. And people will get into all different kinds of things that are no good for them, I think. So thanking God I didn't get into drugs. I didn't get into alcohol, but I got into an abusive relationship, which is not something that you expect for someone who's 14 to get into at such a young age, right? You don't think of that. You think of something that's innocent, something that's, they're just trying it out, right? It's something fun.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for me at all.
Was he older?
No, we were in the same grade. We were, it was a small town. Everyone knew everybody. So when I transferred in, my dad was the new coach. It was a big deal. They don't get transfers like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't get people that move into that town that's been established. If you lived in that town, your grandparents built the farmhouse in 1812. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it wasn't usual for them to get transfers from even an hour south. We were just from an hour south in Northeast Ohio. We were from the Midwest.
So they got bubbly, beautiful you and your dad as a coach.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then you met this young man.
Yeah. And so I started to make friends and I was just getting to know everybody because my dad was the coach and everybody played football. this guy, he was the star football player. Oh, it seems like somebody that I can get to know, I can trust, that, oh, he seems like a pretty solid person around my father, around my friends, around everybody, you know, who knew him. But I had a friend, and I remembered this when I was about to go on to the show, that was going out with him, and she was my neighbor. And she said that they broke off because he was aggressive with her. And she told me that as she noticed that he started to pursue me. And my advice for young ladies out there is, it's usually not jealousy, because that's what I thought it was. Listen to the people around you. Listen to past experiences of, you know, people have lived what you have lived before you. Yeah. And even if they're the same age, even they've gone through stuff too. Yeah. And you're not any wiser than them, and you don't know better than them, even though you're new or whatever else, I guess, if that makes sense. Yeah. So a part of me wishes that I would have listened to that and took that more seriously, but I took it with a grain of salt, because, oh, I was new. Oh, she doesn't know me. She's just saying that because she's jealous. Yeah. But that was not the case at all. She was right. So
when did you start seeing those red flags?
From the very beginning, I would say. He was always very aggressive over text, very aggressive with physical touch, very aggressive with, like, always wanting to know what I was doing, where I was, and I'm 14. Like, I'm so young. I'm not understanding this concept of this controlling manner, but I'm just thinking, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, because, oh, it's young, it's fun. He's the hottest guy in school. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I was just thinking, this is how it works. Because when I was in middle school, I didn't really date a lot. I was like a little, chubby. I played sports. Like, I wore neon green shorts with a football jersey because I grew up around football. Like, I was not the image of beauty in my early middle school years. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when you get into the middle school and you start, like, wearing makeup, oh, the color pink is in. Like, you start getting attention from boys, and it was just something that was completely new to me as well. So it was just, I didn't realize they were red flags, and I was so closed off by him and only him because, oh, he's dated other girls before. I don't want them to know. I don't want them to get jealous, get mad. I don't want to make enemies already. You know what I mean? Just coming in, I don't want to make enemies of people that I don't even know yet, if that makes sense. Like, I was trying to kind of feel my way around with him, but also making friends that are girls that maybe he's dated in the past. And like I said, that friend who warned me in the beginning.
So how long did it take him to get physical with you? Hitting you, that is.
Yeah, not very long. So the physical was actually our second date, that it was the worst.
Wow.
It was really bad because we were watching my little brother play video games on the couch, and he was trying to force himself onto me and, do stuff like that. And I was like, this is not what I want. No, that's not what I want. And it got so bad where I had to get up, and I went into the bathroom. And it was for the first time where it was like, I felt like my body was reacting in a way that my mind wasn't, which was weird, because he was, like, touching me, forcing me, and, like, my body has never been exposed like that before, ever. I've never been touched anywhere. Like, if that makes sense. I don't want to get, like, too, it's kind of intense, but, I've never been, and it was, like, something I didn't want to tell anyone because I was so afraid. Like, I didn't know if that's how dating is, if that's how your boyfriend is supposed to be, if that's how it's supposed to. I just didn't know. So I was afraid, and that's not like me. It's not like me to be afraid not to talk. I love to talk. Like, it's not like me to be afraid, to be quiet, to be unsure.
So let's unpack that a little bit, because going back to what you felt then, and you were inside your head, so you didn't know the truth. What are some of those truths that you would share with someone who's a teenager listening to this from that first encounter with him? What are some of the truths you would share with them now?
I would just say, like, the biggest thing I wish I would have known is, like, if it feels wrong to you, it probably is. And if you feel unsafe, you probably are. Don't invalidate your feelings because it's a social norm that you're supposed to have. A boyfriend that treats you like this, or on social media you saw this is how couples are supposed to be, or on Netflix this show shows you, oh, this is how dating is. It's not like that in the real world. It's not like that in real life. If you feel unsafe, if you feel unsure, you are totally validated in feeling that way.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very, very profound advice. Thank you. So what happened? You still stayed with him after that first encounter?
Yeah, so we went, because it was our first date. We were going to the zoo. And then I went into my room because I needed a minute and I wanted to change, because the verbal was just as bad as the physical. And honestly, for someone like me, I think the verbal was worse.
Yeah.
Because being told that you're fat, being told that you're ugly, being told that I'm not as pretty as the other girls that he's dated at such a young age, it was just something that affected me more than the physical. So I was in my room and I was changing, and he slammed me into my wall and started to choke me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was something that was like I was scared for. I was scared for my life. Like I was scared, and I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to cry for help because I didn't want to expose who he really. My dad is his football coach. Like, it was a hard dynamic for me because my dad knows a side of him where he's the best person in the world. He's a good leader. He's everything that a good student athlete should be, and I know a side of him that's the opposite.
So did you also, I know you didn't want to expose him, but was there a side of you that also felt shame, like you shouldn't be going through this, so you didn't want to tell anyone?
Oh yeah, I was 100% ashamed of. I felt dumb. I felt why am I doing this? This is why I shouldn't date. Like, my dad always used to tell me, no boyfriends until you're 30. But then I was thinking in my mind at that time, maybe he was right, dang it. Like, you know what I mean? I was so, like, because I tried to one of my friends, because it's hard to make friends. Teenage girls are hard to make friends with.
Yes, especially going from another school, and then
Correct.
you're dating the hottest guy in the school.
Correct.
Yeah.
Teenage girls are hard to make friends with. Like, they're cliquey. They're very moody.
No way.
Yeah, right? Like, this is obvious. But I tried to explain to one of my friends on a day after this event happened, like, he told me, because after the event where he choked me and he saw that I was, like, having a hard time, like, it wasn't like I was having a hard time, like, breathing. He's like, this is what couples do. That's what he had the audacity to say to me. And I don't think I will ever erase the look in his face when he said that to me, because he was so confident and nonchalant about this is what couples do. And I was so afraid that it was something that I don't think I would ever forget going forward. And that's when I knew I was afraid of him. After that point, I was afraid of him.
Sophie, did you find out later on, and if you did, like, hurt other people?
Yeah.
Was he going through something, or he's just mean-spirited? What do you think?
No, the abuse runs in the family. So just from going over to his house and being around, I don't want to expose his family too much on a public place, but just abuse runs in the family.
He's emulating what he knows.
Correct. And that is not a norm in my family. My parents have been together for 30 years, and my dad would never touch my mom or even push her or say anything like "you're ugly" to my mother ever. So that was also a shock for me, I think, in a way too, because I'm being told by someone who I'm going out with, this is what couples do. But my whole life, I've idolized my parents' marriage. Like, they do cute stuff. They have 3 beautiful kids, of course. So I've just always looked up to them. And then I'm seeing, like, the opposite in my own life. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Is this how it is now? What am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? And it was just, it was all hard for me to comprehend.
Yeah. So I want to bring you back, because I think this is an important point. We want to talk so other teenagers can hear this. What did your friend say to you when you told her what was happening?
She completely invalidated everything I was saying, and it prevented me from ever speaking up until I got hospitalized. So that's why I feel so inclined to be here and to finally speak up, because for so long I didn't speak up because I tried and I got shut down immediately. If he says this is what couples do, that's what they do. That's what I was told. And I tried to confide, because I didn't want to confide in my parents. I probably would have gave my mom a stroke. I didn't want to confide in my best friend at the time, which is my little sister. She's 13 years old. What does she know? Or 12 years old. What does she know that I don't know? My brother is 9 or 10. Like, he doesn't know anything either. Like, he's more worried about the video game that is on the TV. So it's just like, those are my family is my number one support system.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know who to go to, because I didn't want to, I don't know if burden is the right word, but I didn't want to concern them either, because we were going through a lot. Like, adjustment periods are hard for families, right?
Yeah.
My mom is starting a job. My dad is starting a job. My siblings are getting adjusted. Like, adjustment is hard for everybody. Why would I want to put my problems on to them as well, if that makes sense? So I tried to confide in a friend, and immediately shut down. Immediately.
Yeah. So I think if someone's listening to this, to understand your feelings and what you're saying, you didn't want to bother your parents, but I think part of it is what I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were ashamed.
Of course.
You didn't want to expose him because your dad saw him differently. So I want to dig into that. Yeah. Were you afraid that your dad might not believe you or take his side because they see him differently?
I don't think that ever crossed my mind. I'm my daddy's little girl. Like, I'm my father's daughter. Like, that's you know what I mean? My dad and I are so close, and I'm so blessed to have the best father in the entire world. I would not ask for anything better in a father. But it was just something that was, I didn't want to go to him about the issue, because I saw how proud he was of what he was building with his football team, and how that guy was such a big part of it. And to think that I would be the person to diminish and ruin everything that he's built, if that makes sense.
Sophie, that speaks of your heart, though. Like, you putting the whole football team, this guy and your dad, before this abuse that's happening to you. Like, that's just speak of who I knew you to be, to your detriment, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just love your heart, but not to a fault. You can't protect people to a fault when you're being abused.
Yeah.
So, wow. So you told a friend, and then you stopped talking to anybody about it because of what happened. something bad happened after that?
Yeah. So it just continued. The physical was just on, and it was small things like extra tight gripping of the inner legs, like continuously asking me to do things I didn't want, telling me he's going to do this to me. All of those things that I know now, those are abuse. So that's also something that's huge, that I think is a huge thing. Like, those things I didn't know were abuse, and they are abuse. And I'm okay with saying that I was abused. I didn't for the longest time want to say that I was abused because I found it as a weakness, but it only makes you stronger when you're able to say
That's right.
that you were abused, and you're able to sit here and talk about it and say, look, it happened, but
Yeah.
it's not going to happen again.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what,
So someone listening to this, you say, look out for the signs. Like, no is no. If you say no,
yeah,
basically it's no. Even if it's
it means no.
a tight grip on the hand
Yeah.
or the arm or the thighs. No.
Stop.
Stop.
No.
Yeah. Those are warning signs,
Yeah.
red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the consistent, just over never letting you wanting to like go out with your friends, because that's why we broke up. So soon after that event of the abuse, we didn't stay together long because he's asking me for naked pictures constantly. I sent him a picture in a swimsuit. in a big, a big t-shirt and a swimsuit bottom. A cheeky swimsuit bottom. That's the best that
That's
he
the
got.
best yeah.
Because I was just so like, maybe he'll lay off of me if
The
I give him
pressure,
something.
yeah.
He would send me unsolicited naked photos every day, all the time. And I was just so
creepy.
afraid. I was so afraid. I was like, I just don't, what am I going to do with this? Like,
Yeah.
am I supposed to like that's also like, if you don't like something, that's okay too. Like, you don't have to force yourself to like something based on a societal dating norm, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't have to say, I like getting nudes and naked pictures because
Everybody else likes
everybody else.
Yeah.
If you don't like that, that's okay. I never liked that. I don't think it's normal. I don't think it's attractive. I think it's creepy and weird.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't drive. I'm sitting next to my mother in the car and I'm getting a naked picture. Like, no one wants to see that. Like, that's literally horrifying. Like, I can't.
Yeah. Okay, so then you ended up in the hospital because finally it was physical, right? Talk to us about that.
So the hospitalized event was after he was physical with me and I broke up with him.
Mm-hmm.
I actually played in a basketball game. It's a lot more complex than it is. It's going to get a lot more complex and it's going to be a little hard to follow. So I was playing in a basketball game and it was after we got into a huge fight at school. He told me that I was fat, ugly, worthless, that he cheated on me with XYZ, this girl, that I meant nothing to him. And this is after he was physical with me. I was trying to block him out, but our lockers were right next to each other. Not a very easy thing to do in the 8th grade. So I go to a basketball game, and I fell, and I kind of hit my head a little bit. And it was nothing out of the usual for me because I've always kind of been like a rougher athlete in that time of my life. But the next day at school, we had a class together. And he was just talking about me like insane to everybody, just saying the most like ruthless, like just ruthless things about me to everybody in the class. And I got up and I left. And it was like the first time I ever had an anxiety attack, but it was different because I started having these like uncontrollable movements in like my hands and my legs. And I was like, this is weird. And then I started having them in my neck and my voice. And I was like, this is weird. So I ended up, I don't remember if I went home or if I stayed throughout the day because my dad was a teacher. So I just, anytime I would have a bad day, knock, knock. Hey, guess who it is? I'm going to go in your snack drawer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Privileges of having a teacher as a parent.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what really happened, but they just got progressively worse and progressively worse. And I knew something was wrong, and I knew it was because of him.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else did. So that was like the disconnect.
Right.
Because I knew it was because of him that I was having this like reaction of I didn't know at the time. I was so confused. I was so scared.
Mm-hmm.
So then a couple days later, they turn into like seizures. They look like seizures. I can't walk.
Oh my gosh.
I can't do anything. I can't hold food down. Can't function.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the hospital, and they admit me, and I'm in there running. They run tests on my brain to see if it's like neurological seizures, and I get a visit. My mom is scared and confused. She doesn't know what's going on, but I think she had a sense because she was asking me like, "Are you okay? Did someone hurt you?" And I'm like denying it the whole time. I'm like, no, absolutely not. No, I just don't feel good. I don't feel good. But this is more than just not feeling good at this point. This is not the flu. So they take my mom out of the room at the hospital. They bring in all these doctors, all these officials, all these people that are they look horrifying. They're scary. Oh, yeah. And they start drilling me with questions. Like, unbelievably. Who hurt you? We see this bruise. This isn't from this. Someone abused you. Is it your mom? Is it that lady that was in? Is that your? They start drilling me, and I feel the pressure is on. So the second that they start accusing my parents of abusing me, I'm like, okay. Back up. I'll speak.
Yeah.
I'll talk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I actually told the psychologist who was drilling me, though, because I remember she was like telling my mom that I wasn't being compliant with her and I was resisting care. But imagine being a 14-year-old kid who is so horrified and has been through physical, emotional, verbal, meant every kind of abuse in the past couple months. And you start drilling her with questions. And it's not soft. It's not an easy approach. It's a military, hardcore, yes, ma'am, question answering. It's not the way you reach someone that's abused, that's hurt, that's been through it. So she told my mom I was resisting care. That's where we were. So yeah, she tells my mom I'm resisting care. So my mom comes back in and she tells them that like I gotta talk to them. So then they get a nicer doctor because I'm not talking to that lady the way she just talked to me because, I still got a little bit of attitude. I still got a little bit of sass to me. I was like, the way she just came in here and was yelling at me almost. It felt like I was in trouble. I felt like I was, and that did not help the shame. Feeling like I'm getting yelled at did not help the feelings of like shame and embarrassment.
I like that you said that because for any professionals who's listening to that, you and I talked about it a little bit. Like, I love how you unpacked that and you broke it down because feeling shame, they don't know what you've been through.
Exactly.
Right? But you're feeling shame, you're feeling embarrassed, you're feeling scared.
Yes.
And then you're psychologically, you're so messed up from all this abuse. And for somebody else to come in and almost abuse you, screaming at you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you would say come in with a softer demeanor.
Of course.
And create a safe space for you.
Exactly. And I was just overwhelmed because it's only been not even 6 hours after this all has happened to me. I'm literally having uncontrollable seizures. I cannot walk. I go from being a fully functional, pretty beast if you ask me, athlete.
I love it.
To not being able to walk or use the bathroom by myself or even hold down a bite of food. And we all know you said, I'm a foodie. I like to eat. Like, I'm not able to hold down a bite of food. And you're coming in at me with this demeanor of demand, questions, answers. Now, it's not that simple.
Right.
It's so much more than that. It is so much more than that.
So then you shared, I remember you said his doctor came in, who was
Yes.
nicer, a little nicer. You shared with
Yes.
them, and that started another journey in your life.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
So I unpack it and I tell them what happened and they connect the dots. So they diagnose me with conversion disorder, which technically medically they say it could be lazy, but it's basically like when someone is abused, it describes, I have the definition in my phone, but I don't remember exactly, but it's very complex disorder. It's like a neurological explanation for a neurological disorder due to abuse and trauma, something like that. Like in medical, I'm not medically. My mom is medically. She could explain it way better than I could. But it's basically like a reaction to abuse,
Right.
and people have them all the time.
So is it your body trying to cope with it and not able
Correct.
to? Okay.
Correct. And this was probably the hardest part for me, was right after I got out of the hospital. I'm 14 years old, walking around with a walker in my own house. They give me a bedpan in case I can't get up and use the walker.
Wow.
That is humiliating. I have one of my friends come in and pop in with a surprise visit and bring me my favorite ice cream. I can't even stomach to eat it because of the medication that I'm on. Any stomach of food, vomit immediately. The only thing I could eat is like soup and bread, like something so simple, or like rice, white rice.
So Sophie, there's no cure for that. You just have to take medication to temper it?
Yeah, there is no cure for it. It's not really like, it's just a disorder. So it's not like a disease. It's not like it's not the flu. That's,
yeah.
It's, it's something that I went to multiple different therapists for. I went to different doctor's appointments for, and tried tons of different medications. This medication with this medication, this medication with this medication, and it was hard.
What about school? Before you go into the rest, you got out of school. Did you have to leave?
I went back, and that was just it was terrible. I really have no other words for it, and I'm usually glass half full kind of person. It was horrible. Go back into school. The people saw me like, they're like tics, like Tourette's, like tics. That's what they started as, and they turned into more like seizure-like. And they're asking me, "Do you have Tourette's? What's wrong with you? Are you a freak?" I try to eat lunch with them at the lunch table with my old friends and be normal. And I throw up my lunch, go in the bathroom. They make fun of me for throwing up my lunch. The new girl, she can't keep her lunch down. Like, making fun of me for throwing up. Middle schoolers are cruel. Just if anyone's ever not known that, 8th grade is that 14, 13-year-olds.
I want you to put this message, like, talk about that, though. Like, you don't know what someone's going through. You don't. And that's why it's so important to never judge anybody before you know them. And even if you don't get to know them, a kind word and a kind smile can go so long. And that kind of sounds cliche, and kind of sounds cheesy, but it is so true. Because when I was going through that, all I needed was for somebody to just smile at me and look at me like I was a normal teenage girl, because I was normal. I just went through some stuff, very traumatic
that
stuff,
I didn't want to go through.
Yes.
And I was made out to be a freak and a weirdo and made fun of, and it didn't feel good.
Yeah.
And that's why, just going forward with the rest of ever since that moment, I made it my mission and my passion that nobody that I ever encounter will ever feel like that, ever. That's why I was in a club for students with special needs. I mentored them every Tuesday. people would be like, that's a waste of time. Why are you doing? No, it's not.
That's right.
Because inclusivity is something that is so powerful and people don't even realize.
Yeah.
If people feel like they belong, they feel safe.
That's right.
And they feel happy. And it just improves the quality of life, and it just improves everything. And who wouldn't want someone to feel happy?
Happy, yeah. But it's the number one thing. People are so lonely.
Yeah.
And they are just looking for community and love.
Yeah.
And love, yeah. So, okay, so we fast forward. I'm sorry it took us back a little bit, but let's fast forward. So you're talking about where after that, you know, you continue when you were pretty amazing now. I can't tell you even through that. What helped you to get out of it?
A lot of different things. I'm definitely going to say my faith is number one, because no matter what, I'm going to church, I'm getting involved with people that are like-minded and hearing the words, you are worthy. I remember I was sitting in a message when I was in church, and I was in, I was younger, maybe 8th or 9th grade year, and the pastor said, you are worthy. And like, just to hear someone say that to me, and they weren't even speaking to me, they were speaking to the whole group, but I was sitting in the, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a personal one-on-one conversation. Just to hear that I was worthy, and to hear that I'm loved, and to hear that I am made in the image of God. And I know, that's just how I really got through it, because if I didn't have that, I don't know what would have guided me to continue to push forward and try and better myself, and realize that this doesn't hold me down for the rest of my life, and this doesn't affect me for the rest of my life, because there's I have God, and I have Jesus, I have my Savior. I am saved. I am saved. So nothing on earth can hold me down when I'm saved.
So faith is your foundation. Jesus is your foundation.
Yes.
Prayer as your meditation, and all that, devotions. What advice would you give to someone though who Jesus is in their foundation? They don't understand faith.
Yeah.
How would you help them to get through that? What would you say to them?
So first of all, I wish if I could go back in time, I would speak up sooner. To anybody.
Yeah.
To anybody. I tried to speak up to one person. It didn't work. So I immediately shut down. I turned it off. No more speaking anymore. I just encourage you to speak up, because how you are feeling is valid. Just no matter what you're going through, even to talk to a professional. It doesn't have to be a friend. It doesn't have to be your parents. There are so many online resources nowadays where you can text a therapist and say, hey, this is what's going on. Or you could even say, hey, my friend's going through this. You don't even have to talk about yourself at first.
Right.
Because I wish I spoke up sooner, because even after I spoke up, I still struggled getting away from him, because I didn't speak up until after I was already too far into it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. What I can see is also you have one voice, and that's you. That's inside your head.
Yeah.
You don't have any external voice guiding you.
Right.
Right. You just have that one voice. Wait, you got two voices. You got what he's telling you.
Yes.
And then you got you who's marinated in that, believing it, living it, and not hearing anything else but that. So speak up is number one. And therapy, getting help.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about this. It's not taboo, and it's okay to go out there and get help.
Yes, because I've gone to so many different types of therapists, and they've all helped me in different. I went to a breathing sports psychologist therapist that would tell me to picture myself at the ocean, and at first I was like, what is this guy talking about? I'm not at the ocean. I'm in your office.
Visualizations are powerful, though, right?
Yeah,
when you learn
is.
it. Yeah.
Once you learn that, and you can go to a place of like, I'm not anxious anymore. I'm
Yeah, your
know what I
happy
mean?
place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect. I think we're doing good on time. So today you've gone through many therapists and gotten a lot of help. How does it impact you today?
I think it affects still my dating today. I haven't been in another physically abusive relationship, but I was for sure in another mentally abusive one. But it wasn't nearly as terrible, but it was more manipulative. And I saw the signs. I wish I could say I saw the signs. I did see the signs earlier, but not as early as I would like.
Right.
And I feel like after that one, because I don't date a lot. One of my friends the other day actually asked me, "You're young and hot. Why aren't you dating? You're literally going into college." And I'm like,
you have no idea. You have no idea, girl.
I was like, girl. She's like, I have 3 dates next week. And I was like, and you can just text me about all 3. I don't really.
That's right. Good for you.
It's okay.
It's all right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not, I feel like, for a lot of teenage girls, it's the center or a huge part. It's of their life. Like, wake up, gym, boys.
Right.
Maybe a job. It's not anywhere of any focus for me, and it hasn't been because it's just not something that it's not that I feel ready for, but it's not something that I'm actively desiring because of all of the I would say trauma that I've gone through with it, but I'm okay with that. Like I've accepted that. Like I'm okay with that. If I'm not ready right now, that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's okay to go when you're ready.
Exactly.
No one can force you. And that's good. I'm sure your dad's happy you're waiting till you're 30.
Exactly. Exactly, he is. For sure.
All right. So before we wrap up, do you have triggers?
Yeah, I do.
How do you handle those? For anyone who's listening, how do you handle those triggers?
So for me, I try not to even, first of all, I try not to even put myself in any situation where I'm going to be triggered because I know so well now what does trigger me, like overstimulation. I like to be in control of my environment because for so long I felt like I wasn't in control of my environment. I didn't know what side of my boyfriend I was getting when I was in 8th grade. I didn't know if I was getting one that was going to bring me a nice gift, or I didn't know if I was getting a side of him that was going to almost choke me until I would pass out. So I didn't know what side of him I would get. So I feel like a huge part of my life right now is I like to control the environments I'm in, which means I don't like to go out a lot because I do get I don't like aggressiveness in males. Like that is something that's a huge trigger for me, even just in public. If that makes sense, I don't like.
Yeah, no, totally. You casually talk about what you've been through, and you says it's traumatic, but it's like I don't have words to describe how traumatic what I'm hearing you say, like how traumatic it is. What's one takeaway for our audience today?
Never let something that happened to the past affect your future, and just use that as something that makes you stronger, because everything that happens to you is going to make you stronger. It may weaken you in the time being, but once you get out of it, you're going to be so much stronger. Because if you would have asked me 4 years ago if I would be sitting here telling you that I survived and I made it, I would not tell you that I would have thought that. And I'm getting emotional because it's like, it's a huge thing because I never thought that I would be here trying to share my experience to make it known that, speak up, feel your feelings. If you feel unsafe, you probably are. If you feel uncomfortable, that's okay. If you feel, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Growth is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Thank you. You are a beautiful thing. You are beautiful inside out, and you radiate of light. And regardless of what you've been through, you didn't give anyone your power to steal that light in you. Because a lot of people don't get through that stuff you've been through. They still struggle with it, and they can't be who God created them to be. And you're able to be who God created you to be, that shining beacon of light. I see your story helping so many people. And continue to be beautiful and have that infectious smile, and go out there and shine your light. Friends, I just want to leave you with this takeaway. I love what Sophie said. Your past doesn't define who you are. Our past is usually in our rearview mirror. And if we keep looking back at it and we don't look in front, we stay in the past. So I would say what you do today matters. What happened back there will define you in a way that you choose to let it define you. So you have the choice. And with that, until next time.